السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. إن الحمد لله رب العالمين نحمده ونستعين به ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله بلغ رسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة وكشف الغمة وجاهد في سبيل الله حق جهاده حتى أتاه اليقين ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين. أما بعد. Today, if somebody, for those who want to, attend this, could you come closer? Jazakumullahu khairan. If you guys are attending, please come closer. Allah jazakumul khair. So today, my dear respected brothers and sisters, we're going to be talking about the fasting and its secrets. And this is something, like I said, this is again one of the most important pillars in Islam that we have to kind of make sure that Nick, if you guys could come here. So, if you guys could, So speaking on fasting, and this is very important, ya ikhwan, and watch that today many people do the outer obligations of fasting and completely ignore the inner aspect of fasting. And this is not, today we're going to be talking about the ruling and the ahkam and the etc. No, we're going to be talking about the secrets and how to attain the better fasting as Muslims, okay? So, one thing that we have to keep in mind as Muslims is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have given fasting a special status that He have rarely given it to other things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "As-sawmu li wa ana ajzi bih." That fasting is to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and He rewards for it. This shows nothing but the fact that the reward for fasting, it's multiplied to many numbers. And there is no quantifiable reward for siyam. And this is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had not necessarily have given to, like for instance, if all other rewards, there is a set reward for it. Like as far as praying, as far as making zakah, as far as any deed in the world have a set amount of reward for it, except for a few things. And one of them is for indeed siyam, in which that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said, "As-sawmu li wa ana ajzi bih," in which that fasting is for me and I will reward by it. So this showed us, ya ikhwan, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have attached this siyam or fasting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and there is a huge reward for those who do it correctly. Why is that? I mean, the thing is why, people would ask, well, there is other things that human beings does. There are other good rituals that the Muslim do. Why fasting have such a huge reward? The very first secret is the fact that fasting is something that is in secret. All the other deeds that or the pillars of Islam is an outward deeds, as far as siyam and as far as hajj and as far as even zakah, everything you have to show. But when it comes to fasting is an internal thing. No one in the world that would know you are fasting except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is the unique thing about fasting. You could be eating meals and meals, and the only one would know that whether you're truly fasting or not is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The other thing is that when you fast, you are killing your own desires. You are literally getting rid of all of your desires when you are fasting. Why? Because fasting, they call it the killer of all desires. All desires, think of any desire in the world, it comes from it's fueled by something. For instance, when it comes to, for instance, any sort of shahwa, any sort of desire is fueled by food, for instance. So when you cut the food and you cut the source of energy to that thing, you would have no desires whatsoever. And that's why it is known, the fact that people, when they're fasting, the desires is almost gone. And this is something that you will see only with fasting and etc. Now, I'm gonna ask you guys questions if you don't mind. What are some of the, not obligations, what are some of the sunan in Ramadan when we fast? I'm asking each one of us to give me one sunnah. Sahur, Sahur, yes. And sahur, is it, the sunnah of sahur, is it to make it early or late? The sunnah of sahur. Huh? Late. The later you could make suhoor, the sunnah it is. Now, the other way, when you break your fast, is it should be late or early? Early. The earlier it is, and this shows you how the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the sunnah within Islam is like, the earlier that you break your fast, the better it is. And the later that you could make your suhoor, the better it is. What else? What else? You pray tahajjud, you break qiyam al-layl, and etc. What else? No, sunnah. This is other things. Sunnah. Like what do we do in Ramadan all the time? We read Quran. We make i'tikaf. Okay, breaking our fast with dates and milk and yogurt. This is the sunnah. Okay. So there is many things when we are making, literally if you monitor the rituals that we do during Ramadan, it's almost like rituals that you do each and every day, and like almost by the end of Ramadan, someone will always memorize these rituals. You break your fast with certain things, you walk, you're almost regimented, You come in the masjid in a certain day, you leave the masjid in a certain day, you wake up in a certain time, you go to work or you make i'tikaf, and you have to read certain chapters of the Quran. So that's the beauty of Ramadan, because what? Because it controls your time. And that's something that this is one of the secrets of Ramadan. And Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, like Brother Nick have mentioned, that at the end of Ramadan, what Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he was described by his wife, he said, إذا دخل العشر الأخير شد مئزره وأحيا ليله وأيقظ أهله. That if the last 10 nights of Ramadan came by, the wives of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they described that he would tighten his clothes, okay, and he would make his night alive, and he would wake up his family. Now the scholars, they say, what does it mean shadda izrahu or ma'zarahu? What does it mean he tightened his clothes? The scholars said two meanings for that. Meaning number one is that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would not sleep with his wives, okay, at all for the past 10 days. And second thing, it shows that he have a higher level of seriousness to work. Like for instance, if I want to do serious work, what do? I uproll my sleeves, And that's what it means. It's the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he's about to he's about to perform serious work, Yeah, exactly. And in preparation to making qiyam al-layl, in preparation to watch for Laylatul Qadr, and this is something that many of us should be anxious not to miss during the last 10 days of Ramadan. Now, here, many of us, when we think of fasting, we think fasting is the same thing. But in reality, fasting, there is levels. There is 3 levels of fasting. Okay? The very first level, the scholars they say, he said, Sawm al-umum, like the general type of fasting, in which that you are fasting from only food and water. This is the most common people does this. Okay? The only thing they do is fasting from food and water. Okay? And this is what maybe 99% of the Muslims nowadays now do. Okay? The second highest level of fasting, they call it Sawm al-khusus, like the fasting of the special type of people. Okay? What does that mean? In which that they're above the fact that their stomach is fasting from water and food, their senses are fasting. What does it mean? Meaning that they don't khalas, meaning that I am not going to look at certain things. I am not going to talk about certain things. I'm not going to hit people. I'm not going to harm people. I'm not going to walk to certain things. And this is something that is indeed difficult to do, and this is something a higher level of fasting, because to be honest, ya ikhwan, technically speaking, if someone will go on to say, wallahi, I'm going to stick to number 1, fasting of the food and the water, do you know that a lot of people does this nowadays anyway? Yeah, I don't know if you know, but many people nowadays just does it naturally. Like for instance, if let's say Ramadan have fallen into winter, how many hours do we fast here in Columbus or North America? Sometimes it could be even 10 hours. Sometimes it could be almost 10 hours. So 11 hours. Now, many people, if you sleep at night and wake up late in the morning, you could have not eaten for 12 hours. You see? So the point here is, the ultimate purpose of Ramadan is not, it is not, and I'm going to say this for the third time, it is not only to fast from food and water. And whoever done this, he might, as Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, many people, the only they would get out of their fasting is hunger. Many people, the only they would get out of their fasting is hunger, and they don't get the ultimate reward of fasting. And we talked about the importance of fasting, how much fasting can have a huge reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is important. How could the only thing that you would get out of your fasting is food, just fasting from food and water. That's not the purpose of it. If being hungry does not affect your senses, so much for your fasting. So much, if your hunger and water does not affect you from committing the haram and doing sin, so much for fasting. Because the whole purpose of when you're hungry, when you are suffering from not eating, it's supposed to be a barrier between you and your desires. That's the whole purpose, And they say, we talked about the very first level is what? Just the general fasting, not food from water. Second level is when your senses is fasting. And the third level, they said the fasting of al-khusus, the special type of people. And they said فهو صوم القلب من الهمم الدينية والأفكار المبعدة عن الله سبحانه وتعالى. He said when your heart and mind is fasting from anything that would get you away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is only قليل من قليل من قليل. There is few out of few who's able to attain such status. But we always could try. Why not? That every time you have a bad intention or a bad thought that comes to your brain, you try to get rid of it. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to keep my mind was thinking about certain things. I'm going to keep my heart thinking of certain things. Yes, okay. Yes, but there are, Islamically speaking, there is a distinction between the heart and the mind, right? We'll get to that later. Yeah, so, inshallah. So when we talk, the heart, Islamically speaking, it's the source of emotions, okay, and thinking. Here we talk about spiritual heart, okay. The spiritual heart, Islamically, is the source of emotions and thinking. Yeah. The mind is the source of rationality, okay. So that's two different things. So, but unfortunately, science is a different thing. But here we're talking about the spiritual world. Now, as far as these are the three levels. 1, generally. 2, your senses of fasting. 3 is your heart and your mind is fasting from any evil things. Now, like I said, when someone wanted to, for instance, I want to make my sense fast. I want my sense fast. What does it mean? Meaning that you have to control your senses. Technically you are weak now. You're fasting. You have to control your eyes from looking at certain things. Control your tongue from saying certain things. Saying the haram, making ghiba, hurting people, harming people. You should be lacking the energy to go to certain places that you used to be going to. So with that being saying, that's why Prophet Muhammad said, "Man lam yadi' qawl az-zur wa 'amal az-zur, falaysa Allah bihajatin an yad'a ta'amahu wa sharabahu." Whoever does not, protect himself from saying, evil things, and from him doing bad things, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not in need of him giving up his food and water. Very, very dangerous. Because again, many of us subhanallah, when it comes to fasting, breaking our fast is like the door of sins have reopened. I'm serious. It's like, okay, like, now I could do whatever I want. Oh, and now we have some Muslims that say, "Akhi, don't, I'm not gonna curse you because I'm fasting." Yeah, then after you break your fast, you're able to do so. So that's the thing. Is like, fasting. It should be throughout the day. Even if, it doesn't matter whether you're eating or not eating. The point is, during the month of Ramadan, okay, you have to make sure that you're preventing yourself from committing the sins. And there is, by the way, there is few isolated opinions in this. Like, for instance, they say the general ruling in Islam that if someone commit a sin, he would count it one sin. Generally speaking, right? But also, there are certain times where the sins can be multiplied. Sins can be multiplied. Right. When? Ramadan is one of them, according to certain opinions. And what about places? Yeah, when somebody goes to Mecca, and subhanAllah, look, I mean, like, for instance, why these people, it's an opinion, and we respect that, but why would sins be multiplied in Mecca? Because you're like by the haram, for God's sake. What you think you're going to be doing, man? I mean, you have no reason. You're still committing the sin while you're beside the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the same thing when it comes to Ramadan. Like, for instance, why are you committing sin, man? Why are you doing this? You're like, the Satan is away from you. The Satan is chained. You are, technically speaking, have all the reasons for you to do good deeds, and yet you still commit it. So this is something that is serious that we need to think about as individuals, okay? And also, and this is something, ya ikhwan, that we have to be careful of. When we break our fast, and this is the secrets, okay? When we break our fast, make this as a rule. Never, ever, ever, ever come out if you're breaking your fast, your stomach is completely full. Don't you ever do this. Never, never, ever. Because now you are literally destroying what's going to be coming afterward. Let me ask you this. I mean, I'm sure many of you have went to college and etc., right? I mean, for people they're about to take an exam, I mean, this is general rule. Have you ever seen anyone, before he would go into an exam, he would fill up his stomach? Almost never. Why? Because he wants to focus on what he's going to be doing, answering. And a matter of fact, maybe his brain is thinking too much, because now the blood is not circulating in his belly, in his GI tract. So what happened is the same thing. How are you going to expect to come to a Maghrib and come to Isha and make Taraweeh and God forbid, make it for Fajr, and while your stomach is like this, where you're completely full? It is not going to work, no matter how you're going to look at it. That's why one of the secrets is that people commit over and over. Yes, they might come to Isha. Yes, they might come to Taraweeh. True. But where is their brain? Somewhere else. And that's why you will see people will say, oh, how come I'm not being affected with the recitation of Ramadan? Well, of course you have been. How come the Quran does not affect me during Ramadan? Of course, why it's not affecting you? Because the fact that when you're standing here, all the blood is circulating in your belly. It's simple as that. Because when someone, like anyone, like for instance, when you work out, where is all the blood is going? To your muscles, right? Because that's where the most of the energy is being consumed. The same thing when you are eating, all the blood is going to circulate in your belly, and that's why you feel sleepy, and you feel you're about to faint. Because what? Because this is where all the nutrition is coming from. So with that being said, ya ikhwan, this is something that we need to be extremely careful of. Never, it's a red line that you never ever want to do. Okay. And Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "ما ملأ ابن آدم وعاء شر من البطن." ما ملأ ابن آدم وعاء شر من البطن. There is no pot is that son of Adam have ever filled worse than filling up his stomach. So we have to be, because this is something, the purpose, and the scholars say, if you fill up your stomach, you have negated the ultimate purpose of Ramadan. Because in Ramadan, if you go on to, for instance, if you go on to fill up your stomach for suhoor, and fill up your stomach during iftar, and you say, Wallahi, I did not feel hungry today. Well, you should. You should feel hungry. You see what I'm saying? It's kind of, it's funny. I mean, you should feel hungry. If you don't feel hungry, then you defeated the purpose of Ramadan. I'm not saying not to eat. No, eat. Eat. Yeah, but don't. The point here, the point here is, sufficient amount. Eat sufficient amount. But the point here is not to fill up your stomach so you could say, I don't feel hungry. No, eat good things. Keep yourself well nourished. But in the same token, don't superfill yourself to the point that you say, "Wallah, I did not feel hungry." No, you should feel hungry. That's the whole purpose. You should feel hungry. Now when it comes, so this is some of the secrets when we talk about general fasting of Ramadan. Okay. Now I don't want to take too much time of this. It's like when we talk about the non-obligatory fasting, the tatawwa, siyam tatawwa. So there is, subhanallah, if we talk about the general aspect of siyam, like, the scholars have said that some extra siyam we do in yearly basis, some of them in monthly basis, and some of them on weekly basis. Okay, what are some of the things that we make siyam, extra siyam, once a year? Things that we do siyam, extra siyam, once a year, like what? The day of Ashura, the ninth of Muharram, Yawm Arafah, the 6th of Shawwal. Yeah, all of this, we do this once a year, right? Now when talk about monthly, what kind of extra fasting that we do monthly? The white days, Ayyamul Bid. Yeah, the beginning of the month. Also it says sunnah to break the beginning or middle of the month. Okay, so what are some of the weekly things? Thursday, Mondays and Thursdays. Okay, so you see all of this, and the best of siyam is the siyam of whom? They call it the best type of siyam. Do you know, guys, the best siyam, extra siyam is whom? They call him the siyam of Sayyidina Dawood, the siyam of Prophet David, in which that you break your fast one day and you fast another day. Why is that? They consider this to be the best siyam? Because you're breaking the habits of your own desires, because because thing is, technically speaking, guys, it's easy for someone to continually break their fast, right? And it's also easy for someone to continually fast, believe it or not. Yeah, if somebody continue to fast, it's easy. It's not difficult. It's not difficult. Wallahi, it's not difficult. Because let me ask, to prove my point, in the beginning of Ramadan, it's very difficult to fast, right? By the end of everything, it's easy. Why is that? Because it's routine now. You have defeated exactly. But when someone break their fast and then he fasts, you're continually challenging your own desires, and that's why it's considered to be the best type of siyam. Okay. So now when we talk about, and again, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he did not recommend for someone to fast continuously. This is not from the Sunnah. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "La sama." Whoever done this, he said he did not fast, nor he made iftar. Why is that? Because, first of all, he have violated the Sunnah. For someone, when he continually fast, he's not following the Sunnah, and he's fasting in days he's not supposed to fast in, right? Like for instance, in the day of Eid, you're not supposed to fast. When you fast Jum'ah by itself, it's haram, but when you continue, it's fine. Yeah. Yes. So, but when you continue to fast, sometimes you're committing haram because in certain things but even though some Sahaba, you will see them, continually fasted, but they break their fast in these 3 days. Like for instance, it was, Abu Talha, he fasted for 40 years continuously. These are monsters, mashallah, Muhammad. You could not compete with them, because the ultimate purpose is for someone when he do this kind of things that he's elevating his status to a higher level, because he is continually changing this. And Ibn Mas'ud, but the thing is, this is very important, ya ikhwan, before I end, and this is extremely important. You have to pick your way toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some Sahaba, they found their way toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was through fasting. And they would enter through the door of Ar-Rayyan because of how much fasting they do. But not necessarily fasting is good for everyone. You see? Like for instance, let me give you an example. For instance, Ibn Mas'ud, he used to fast little. You know why? Because he said, if I fast, I don't pray much. I don't have the energy to pray much. So what I do, I fast little, but how he's compensating that? How is he compensating that? He prays a lot. Extra prayer. Okay? Or some Sahaba said, they said, I cannot fast because if I fast, I don't have the ability to read much Quran. But he fasts little, but how is he compensating that? With too much Quran. So the issue here, if you find yourself able to fast, go for it, man. No problem. But the question that I have for you, in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how are you unique? That's the $1 million question. How are you unique? Is brother Muhammad, he's known for the fact that he's between him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He fasts a lot, he prays a lot, he reads Quran a lot, he comes to the masjid a lot, he makes qiyam al-layl a lot. Because these are secrets. No, you shouldn't be disclosing this to anyone. What's your secret with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Because this is very, very important. The Sahaba, all of them, they used to have a unique thing. And they said, I'm not going to do this because I'm good at one thing. Because again, some people like to read, some people like to play. It's almost like a hobby or you get toward the heaven. Yes, of course. So if someone have diabetes, for our listeners, if somebody have diabetes, he cannot fast a lot, of course. Yeah, you could fast as much as possible, No problem. But the thing is, again, find a way. Like the thing is, you here in this world, ya ikhwan, we're almost like a competition between me and you and everyone else, right? So how are we competing toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What is that one thing that you are unique with? You see? So always have that secret between you. Again, fasting is a good thing. And take advantage. Sometimes, subhanAllah, I find myself sometimes, I'm not eating for no reason, especially in the winter times, in which that the sun would set very, very early in the day. So take advantage of it. Why not? But in the same token, make sure that you do it. Don't. In the same token, what I'm trying to say here, don't also abandon it. Again, I'm not talking about don't fast. That means you don't fast at all. No. Fast. The minimum that you could do. I don't think anyone cannot do Mondays and Thursdays. That's the minimum thing that I believe any Muslim can do. It's easy. But I say if you want to fast more than that, beautiful. You could do it. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and enable. And these are a few things that I think we should be taking in consideration when we fasting. Inshallah, next week, we're going to be talking about Hajj and its secrets. Again, the once in a time opportunity that when we visit the holy house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if I said anything that is good, is it from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His Prophet, or if I said anything inappropriate for myself and the shaitan, سبحانك وحمدك نستغفرك ونتوب إليك والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. جزاكم الله خيرا.